Hello students, myself Amrita Roy. Today we are going to study about the review of some basic concepts of electric circuit. Let us go through the contents. We are going to study about Ohm's law, electrical circuit elements R, L and C, that is resistance, inductance and capacitance, voltage and current source, voltage and current division rule, and AC waveform and various terms that are associated with it. Ohm's law. Ohm's principal discovery was that the amount of electric current through a metal conductor in a circuit is directly proportional to the voltage impressed across it for any given temperature. Ohm expressed his discovery in the form of a simple equation describing how voltage, current and resistance interrelate. So it's given by the equation V equals to IR, where V is the voltage, I is the current flowing through the circuit and R is the resistance. So for better understanding, I have given the diagram. A battery source is connected with an electric lamp and the battery is supplying a current. Now the current is flowing through the closed circuit, and since the circuit is closed, the lamp is glowing. So the voltage drop across the lamp can be calculated by applying Ohm's law, that is V equals to IR. R is the resistance of the lamp. Electrical circuit elements R, L and C. The electrical resistance of an object is actually the measure of its opposition to the flow of electric current. The reciprocal quantity is electrical conductance and is the ease with which an electric current passes. The SI unit of resistance is ohm, while electrical conductance is measured in Siemens. The resistance and conductance of a conductor of uniform cross section therefore can be computed as R equals to rho into L by A and G equals to sigma into A by L. Here in the diagram we can see that there is a conductor having length L, area of cross section as capital A, resistivity rho. So the resistance will be represented as R equals to rho into L by A. The resistance of a given object basically depends primarily on two factors. One is what material it is made of and its shape. For a given material, the resistance is inversely proportional to the cross-sectional area. For example, a thick copper wire has lower resistance than an otherwise identical thin copper wire. Also, for a given material, the resistance is proportional to the length. For example, a long copper wire has higher resistance than an identical short copper wire. So, here in the expression, we can see that resistance is directly proportional to length and is inversely proportional to the cross-sectional area of the conductor. But for conductance, it is the reciprocal of resistance. So, for conductance, it is inversely proportional to the length of the conductor but directly proportional to the cross-sectional area. So, let us go through the units where we can see that L is the length of the conductor, which is measured in meters, A is measured in square meters, sigma is the electrical conductivity, which is measured in Siemens per meter, and rho is the electrical resistivity, which is measured in ohm meter. Well, the resistivity and conductivity are proportionality constant, and therefore they basically depend on the material the wire is made of and not on the geometry of the wire. And resistivity is basically a measure of the material's ability to oppose the electric current. Next is series and parallel resistors. In a series circuit, the output current of the first resistor flows into the input of the second resistor. Therefore, the current is same in each resistor. In a parallel circuit, all of the resistor leads on one side of the resistor and are connected together, and all the leads on the other side are connected together. In the case of a parallel configuration, each resistor has the same potential drop across it, and the currents through each resistor may be different depending on the resistor. The sum of the individual current equals to the current that flows into the parallel connections. So in this diagram, we can see that in the series circuit, R1, R2, R3 and R4 are connected in series. That is, in case of series circuit, the current flowing through R1 will be the same as current flowing through R2, same for R3 and R4. That is, in case of series circuit, the value of current will remain same, but due to the varying value of the resistances, the potential drop across each resistor will be different. So in a series circuit, the value of current remains same, but the value of voltage across each resistor varies. Similarly, for a parallel circuit, we can see when we send a current through the circuit, it is dividing into 4 branches. For in this circuit, we have 4 resistances R1, R2, R3 and R4. So, if I is the main branch current, it will divide into 4 parts as I1, I2, I3 and I4. So, if R1 is not equal to R2, not equal to R3, not equal to R4, then for non-identical resistors, the value of current flowing through different branches will be different. But the potential difference across each resistor will be the same. So in case of a parallel circuit, the potential difference across each resistors remains constant, and for a series circuit, the value of current flowing through the circuit remains the same. Here we have calculated the equivalent resistances for a series parallel circuit. Well, in case of series circuit, we can see the equivalent resistance is calculated as R equivalent equals to R1 plus R2 plus R3 and so on. How do we calculate that? R equivalent is equals to voltage divided by current. Now the total voltage can be divided into V1 plus V2 plus V3 divided by I. Now V1 by I1 plus V2 by I2 plus V3 by I3. With that, we will get the individual resistors as R1 plus R2 plus R3. So we will keep in mind as a little idea that for a series circuit, the current is same in each resistor by the current law. Similarly, for the parallel circuit, we can see the R equivalent is given as 1 by R equivalent equals to 1 by R1 plus 1 by R2 plus 1 by R3. Now the calculation. V by R equivalent is equals to I equals to I1 plus I2 plus I3. That equals to V1 by R1 plus V2 by R2 plus V3 by R3. So we can substitute it as 1 by R equivalent equals to 1 by R1 plus 1 by R2 plus 1 by R3. So the parallel circuit idea will be kept as the voltage is same across each resistor by the voltage law. Next is inductance. If a time varying current flowing through a coil, then there is an EMF induced in it. That is, the induced EMF across the coil is directly proportional to the rate of change of current with respect to time. Due to the property of inducing EMF, all types of electrical coil can be referred to as inductor. An inductor is basically an energy storing device which stores energy in the form of magnetic field. Inductance is defined as the ratio of induced voltage to the rate of change of current causing it. In the SI system, the unit of inductance is Henry, which is the amount of inductance that causes a voltage of 1 volt when the current is changing at a rate of 1 ampere per second. So we can see the relation as V proportional to di by dt, that is V is proportional to rate of change of current. So we will bring a proportionality constant capital L. So L is the inductance here, so we can rewrite it as L equals to V divided by di by dt. Now what are the types of induction? There are two types of induction, self and mutual induction. What is self induction? When time varying current flows in a coil, the time varying flux is produced, and this varying flux will link with that coil itself, and as a result there will be EMF induced in the coil itself. This type of induction is known as self induction. For case of mutual induction, when time varying current flows in a coil, it produces time varying flux, as we have already told. This time the varying flux may link with another nearby coil. Due to this flux linkage, there will be an induced EMF in the second coil. This type of electrical induction is called mutual induction. Hence, mutual induction can be defined as induction of EMF in one coil due to time varying current flowing in other nearby coil. The symbol of inductor is represented by as shown in the figure. Next is capacitance. Capacitance is the ability of a component or circuit to collect and store energy in the form of an electric charge. The SI unit of capacitance is farad, and capacitors are energy storing devices that are available in many sizes and shapes. So when a voltage is applied to the plates, an electric current flows, charging up one plate with one positive charge. That is, capacitor consists of two conductive plates, usually a metal, which are prevented from touching each other and are separated by an insulating material called the dielectric. So when this voltage is applied to the plate, an electric current will start flowing and it will start charging up one plate with a positive charge with respect to the supply voltage, and the other plate will be charged with negative charge that is equal and opposite to the positive charge. Then a capacitor has the ability of being able to store an electric charge Q of electrons. So when the capacitor is fully charged, there is a potential difference between the plates, and larger the area of the plate or smaller the distance between them, the greater will be the charge that the capacitor can hold and the greater will be its capacitance. Now the amount of charge stored by a capacitor is given by the relation Q equals to capital C into V. The symbol of capacitor is represented by as shown in the diagram. Here I have provided a chart for the calculation of series and parallel combination of R, L and C circuits. That is, for series resistor, R equivalent will be calculated as R1 plus R2 plus R3 and so on. And for equivalent parallel connection, R equivalent will be calculated as 1 by R equivalent equals to 1 by R1 plus 1 by R2 plus 1 by R3 and so on. For capacitor, the equivalent series connection will be given as 1 by C equivalent equals to 1 by C1 plus 1 by C2 plus 1 by C3 and so on. And for equivalent parallel connection of capacitor, C equivalent will be equals to C1 plus C2 plus C3 and so on. And lastly, for inductor, it is same as the series connection of resistor. I equivalent will be given as L equivalent will be given as L equivalent will be given as L equivalent equals to L1 plus L2 plus L3 and so on. And similarly for parallel connection, L equivalent will be written as 1 by L equivalent equals to 1 by L1 plus 1 by L2 plus 1 by L3 and so on. Next is voltage and current source. Practical and ideal voltage source. So a practical voltage source is a two-terminal device which can maintain a fixed voltage. So an ideal voltage source can maintain the fixed voltage independent of the load resistance or the output current. We can see in the diagram that there is an ideal voltage source and there is a practical voltage source. The basic difference between the two is that in case of an ideal voltage source, the internal resistance is 0. But for a practical voltage source, the internal resistance is not 0. So, when we will be asked what is the difference between ideal and practical voltage source, the basic difference will be for an ideal voltage source, it has no internal resistance, but for practical voltage source, it has some value of internal resistance and is connected in series with the voltage source. Next is the AC and DC voltage source. I have shown here in the diagram the symbols. For DC voltage source, it has a polarity plus and minus which is fixed and constant, and for an AC voltage source, it is given by an alternating sine waveform. Next is voltage control voltage source and current control current source. So we can see that the symbol is basically diamond shaped and has polarity plus and minus. The controlled term is used for, that is, current controlled. So current controlled voltage source, current control means the value we will write with a coefficient as coefficient multiplied by current control, meaning I, and the voltage source symbol will be given in the diamond shaped symbol. Similarly, for voltage control voltage source, the symbol will be given as diamond shaped voltage source and the voltage control, that is small v, will be multiplied with the coefficient. Next is the current source. A current source is an electronic circuit that delivers or absorbs an electric current which is independent of the voltage across it. An ideal current source generates a current that is independent of the voltage changes across it. That is, an ideal current source is basically a mathematical model which real devices can approach very closely. So in the diagram, I have shown the ideal current source and practical current source. So in case of an ideal current source, we can see that a resistance which has no value, that is, it is kept open and is written as infinite, that is, but in case of practical current source, a resistance is connected in parallel with the current source and the resistance has some value. The basic difference between practical and ideal current source, we will represent it as that for a practical current source, the resistance connected in parallel with the current source has some value, but for an ideal current source, the resistance that is connected in parallel with the current source has no value, that it has infinite value. Next is dependent sources. So dependent or control source is a source in which the source voltage or current is determined by another voltage or current elsewhere in the circuit being analyzed. It is usually represented by diamond shaped symbol, as I have already told in the previous slide. So we can see the symbol of a dependent and a dependent voltage source and a dependent current source. The basic difference, the voltage source has a polarity of plus and minus, and the dependent current source is represented by a arrow symbol. Next is voltage and current division rule. The voltage across a resistor in a series circuit is equal to the value of the resistor the times the total impressed voltage across the series elements divided by the total resistance of the series elements. That is, in the diagram we can see in the circuit that there is a supply voltage E and there are two resistors R1 and R2 that are connected in the circuit, and a current small I is flowing in the circuit. So how can we apply voltage division rule here? So to calculate the voltage drop across R1, that is small r1, we will apply the voltage division rule as E1 equals to the supply voltage multiplied by the resistor R1 divided by the total resistance present in the circuit, that is R1 plus R2. Similarly, for calculating the voltage drop across small r2, we will write the equation as E2 equals to supply voltage, that is E, multiplied by small r2 divided by R1 plus R2, that is the total branch resistance or the total resistance present in the series circuit. Next is current division rule. In current division rule, it is said that the current in any of the parallel branches is equal to the ratio of opposite branch resistance to the total resistance multiplied by the total current. So in the second diagram we can see we have two resistances R1 and R2 that are connected in parallel, and our main branch current I is getting divided into I1 and I2 as they are approaching R1 and R2. So to calculate the current flowing in each branch resistor, we will rewrite the equation as I1 equals to the total supply current, that is capital I, multiplied by the opposite branch resistance R2 divided by the number of resistors present in the circuit, that is R1 plus R2. We will add them up. Similarly, to calculate I2, we will multiply I with the opposite branch resistance, that is R1, divided by the summation of the number of resistances present in the parallel circuit, that is R1 plus R2. Next is AC waveform and definition of various terms associated with it. So what is an AC waveform? It is defined as one that varies in both magnitude and direction in more or less an even manner with respect to time, making it a bidirectional waveform. What do we mean by bidirectional waveform? Bidirectional waveform meaning a waveform that has both positive and negative value. So the term AC gives its full description of alternating current, generally referring to a time varying waveform, with most common of all being called as sinusoid waveform. So AC waveform is basically a time dependent signal. So this type and shape of AC waveform depends upon the generator or device producing it, but all AC waveforms consist of a zero voltage line that divides the waveform into two symmetrical halves. So we can see in the diagram that there is a sinusoidal waveform, AC waveform, which is starting from origin and is ending at 2 pi, and the positive half will repeat again after 2 pi. So here are some basic definitions that we need to know. So the basic definitions that we need to know are: what is peak value, what is amplitude, what is frequency, what is cycle. So in this case, in the diagram, we can see that the alternating quantity is achieving a certain magnitude at a particular point. So we will call that point as the peak value of the AC waveform, be it on positive half cycle or on negative half cycle. Similarly, what is a cycle? A complete cycle is a one where the alternating quantity completes both the positive and negative half cycles. So that will complete one cycle. Now, frequency. So the number of cycles per second will be considered as frequency, and the unit of frequency is called hertz. Next is, we can see the time period. We have to calculate the time period. So what is the time period? The time period is basically calculated as where the waveform is originating and at what point the waveform is ending, and the same point where it will repeat itself again after the negative half cycle. That is, in this case, the positive and negative half cycle are completed at 2 pi. So at 2 pi the waveform will start repeating again, that is, it will again attain another positive half cycle. So from 0 to 2 pi the sinusoidal waveform has a time period of 2 pi. So these are the basic definitions that we need to know for AC waveform, and here are some periodic waveforms that I have shown in the diagram. So here is a sine wave, next one is the complex wave, next one is a triangular wave, and last one is a square wave. So I have discussed the definitions when I was describing the diagram. You can find these definitions here. I have written them properly, and here is one basic definition, that is scalar and vector quantity. Scalar quantity, as we all know, it has only magnitude but no direction. For example, resistance, because it is a passive element, it has no direction but it has a magnitude. It may be 4, 3 or 5 ohm or kilo ohms, But a vector quantity, that is an alternating quantity, or that has a value that is maybe an electromotive force that has both magnitude and direction, so it's called a vector quantity. Now next is how to understand which waveform is out of phase or which waveform is in phase. What is phase angle, what is average value? So here in the diagram we can see that there are two waveforms, V1 and V2, that is being represented as in the diagram. So in phase meaning when two alternating quantities reach their maximum and minimum simultaneously, that is, in this case the waveform V1 and V2 don't have the same peak value, but they are attaining their peak values at the same time, and on both on the positive and negative half cycle, that is at pi by 2 they are reaching their maximum value on positive half, and at 3 pi by 2 they are attaining their negative most highest point in the negative half cycle, that is they are following a symmetric pattern and they are in a synchronism with each other. So in this case the two waveforms will be considered as in phase. Next is out of phase. Suppose if the waveform V1 started from 0 and V2 started from pi by 2, then V1 is basically leading the waveform V2, that is V2 is lagging the waveform V1, that is when V1 is starting from 0, V2 is taking a little bit of time and starting after some period of time, and the origin for V2 is pi by 2. So in this case the two waveforms are not starting at the same period of time, so they have a gap. That phase gap, we call it as that out of phase. So how do we calculate that out of phase? That out of phase is calculated as the origin of the second waveform minus the origin of the first waveform. In this case, if V2 starts from pi by 2 and V1 starts from 0, the out of phase difference will be pi by 2 minus 0, that is pi by 2 phase angle difference between the two waveforms. That is, it is the angular displacement between two alternating quantities. I have covered both phase angle and out of phase by describing the diagram. Now what is the average value? It will be the summation, the integration of all the arithmetical average of all the values that are present in the alternating quantity over one cycle, and is called as the average value. That is, this alternating quantity can be integrated and summed up into little parts, and when we divide the summation of all the little quantities together by the whole sum quantity, it will give us the average value. That is, for sine waveform we get the average value as 2 by pi equals to 0.637 im. Now what is root mean square value? The RMS value of alternating quantity is that steady current which, when flowing through a given resistance for a given time period, produces the same amount of heat as produced by the alternating current when flowing through the same resistance for the same time. So for sine waveform there are two RMS values, Vrms and Irms. Vrms has a value of 1 by root 2 into peak value, that is Vm. So the RMS and peak value relation are given by Vrms or Irms equals to Vm or Im by root 2. So that will give us a value of 0.707 Vm or Im. Now peak factor, it is basically the ratio of the peak value to the RMS value of a waveform, that is Vm divided by 0.07 Vm for a sine waveform will give us the value of 1.414. Similarly, form factor, it is defined as the ratio of RMS value to the average value. For sine waveform, the form factor is 1.11. Thank you. In the next presentation, we will read regarding the various impedance and voltage, phase, current. So up till now we have discussed regarding the Ohm's law, electric circuit elements R and C. In part 2 we will discuss the remaining part left for unit 1. Thank you.